Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well and welcome back to another lesson. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. All right, so what we're going to do in this one is we're going to update our tag controller, but instead of authorizing using the user policy, what we're going to do is we're going to authorize it using a tag policy. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this one. All right, in order to pass just some extra nuggets of knowledge, I'm not going to do the tag policy how we have done the post policy, just so that you guys can know different ways of doing things. So what I will do is I will create basically a resource policy of the tag, and then I will include that in our tag controller so that we can just learn something new as well. All right, so let's open up our terminal. Right, so we got our terminal open right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a resource tag policy. In order to do that, it's the same way how we would create a controller. So PHP artisan make policy, and I'm going to call this one tag policy. But what I will do is I'll add a -m flag and just add the tag right there. Right, so what it will do, it will create a resource policy for us. So if I press enter, right, so as you can see, policy is created. So let's quickly go to our tag policy. Right, in our tag policy, as you can see, it created a resource policy for us right here. As you can see, a view any. So that means if you like if you have an index view, all right, so where you can basically view all the tags, this will be applicable to that. The view will, you can think of it in terms of the show method, the create, obviously is self-explanatory, and the update, that is also self-explanatory, and the delete, restore, and the force delete. All right, so I'm going to leave it as is for now. All right, so let's go quickly to our post controller. But before we do that, we need to actually make sure that we register this policy. All right, in order to do that, all right, so as you can see, we've got our policies right there. So we go to our providers right here, and under that, we look for auth service provider, this one right here. All right, so what we want to do is we want to get the tag class. Okay, and we want to bind that to basically our tag policy class like this. All right, so now our application knows that for this tag class, there's a policy called the tag policy, and that tag policy inside that is got a whole lot of different methods. All right, so what I want to do is I want to get the user, and let's just do that. Just basically, we're going to return the user needs to be admin. So A is admin, or the user is super admin. Right. So what I want to do, I just want to explain this. If you want to change this to be anybody else, so if you want to say the index view can be viewed by someone else, you can change it right here. So let me just copy all of them. So I want to paste them in all these classes. All right. So I want to do that for the view any. So basically only the admins, super admins, and all that kind of stuff is be able to do this right here. Okay. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, how do we actually authorize the user depending on this policy? All right. There's two methods. There's two ways. All right. So I'm just going to delete this one right here. So let's quickly go to the store method. So what we can do, let's say we want to make use of our tag policy, this one right here. Let's say the create one. Okay. So what we can do in the store method, we can do the same thing what we did when I created my policy. Let's say this dot authorize. All right. So if you remember with the user policy, what I've done is I just created user policy. Okay, like this. And then I obviously added what method inside that policy. Now, in this case, it's a constant. So I'm calling on the admin or whatever the case may be. Now, this one will work a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on the create. Okay. So the create right here. So the create is this method right here. So which I'm calling. Okay. And then only thing that I pass in here is basically our tag class like this, tag class like this. All right. So now what will happen is we will authorize the user and check if they can go through the create. All right. So we go to the tag policy, it will go to the create, and it will check if the user is an admin, and it will also check if the user is a super admin. All right. That's one way of doing it. The other way to do it, since I don't want anybody, all right, that's not basically, let's say all the methods right here. Instead of I have to specify under all the basically in our tag controller here and put all of this like this. Right? So authorize this like that. I don't want to put all the methods in there. Right? So I want to basically authorize it in our constructor so that basically all the methods will be assigned appropriately to the create, to the store, to the show and edit, etc., etc. Right, so let's quickly create a constructor, a public function, and construct. Right, so in our constructor, what we're going to do in this one will be a little bit different to how we normally would do it. Now, we can just do this dot authorize a resource, this one like here. So you remember when I said we're going to create a resource policy? So this basically refers to the resource tag policy that we created. So then you have quite nice freedom in here where you can just check if you want everyone to view it right here, you just return true. All right, so without the person needing to be authenticated or whatever the case may be. Under the view, you can decide. You've got a lot of freedom. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, we want to authorize, and the first thing we're going to pass in the tag class like this, and then we pass in the tag like that. All right, so now in our constructor, instead of actually having to include all this authorize under all the different methods, Laravel will automatically assign them because of that authorized resource in our constructor. Right, that sounds a little bit magic-y. So let's quickly go to this authorized resource quickly. Let me show you. So just to kind of remove the magic bits from it. So if we go to this, you will see we need to pass in the model, the parameter, and the options. Okay. But if we're going to go check there, but let's go to this for each resource ability map. Right, let's go to that method right there. So as you can see in the map, it will map basically the index to the view any, the show to the view, the create to the create, the store to the create, the edit to the update, and the update to update, and the destroy to delete. All right, so that's basically what it's going to do in the background. All right, so let's quickly go to the policy again. So in the policy, we'll see the view any. All right, that will correspond to the index. All right, and then you will see the view right there. All right, the view. This one in the policy. So on the right-hand side, this is the policy, and you'll see it correspond to the show. And the create in the policy, so if we go to the create, that will be basically for the create method in our tag controller. So the create method and the store method right there. Okay, so that's basically, if we add that, just that authorize the resource. Let's go to the tag controller. So basically, if we add this authorize the resource, the tag, and obviously the tag right there. So what this will do, it will basically, this tag policy, it will basically add them in here. But now here's the gotcha. All right. So in order to make use of this, okay, as I've shown you right here, okay, you need to make sure that it is a resource policy because it's going to look for these methods inside your policy. All right, so that's it. So after we finish now with the tag policy, so we registered our policy and we got our index right here. So the next thing that we're going to do, since we don't need to actually make sure the person is authorized, we already going to make sure that the person is an admin, super admin, and you can obviously change who do you want to view. So you can just update the policy accordingly. All right. So in the next part, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the view, on the method in the view for the create. So I'll see you there. So like the video if you guys like it and give me some feedback. positive, negative, suggestions, or whatever the case may be, just leave it for me in the comment section. I love to read them, and I'll see if I can respond to it. All right. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next one where we're going to be working on the create part, and after that we'll work in the store, and so on and so on. All right. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Adios.